Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
The midfield now. Shot down the field. It's McMillan. He got it. No, picked off by Lewis. Lewis fought him for it and took it away. Jordan Lewis, the interception.
They're down at 10. Howell scanning the field, throwing over the middle. It's caught at the 5th hole. Dami Brown, he'll take it to the house for the touchdown.
Cousins wide open. Touchdown Vikings. Johnny Munt.
Mullins, nobody open at first. Keeps it alive. Nick Mullins lets it go. Touchdown. Harrison Bryant.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
I hope you caught him, folks. That's the collection of career highlights for the 9 guys the Jags signed yesterday. I kid. Nice job by Dylan Denmark digging in the archives. Come up with some Johnny Munt end zone visit right there, Tone, and Dami Brown and everybody else with the Jags. You know, when you're drafting or signing a bunch of linemen, you're not going to have a whole lot of highlights there. In those packages. But anyway, good morning, everybody. We're live out at the Players Championship here in Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra. It is gorgeous out today.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
A little bit chilly for the fellas this morning. It's going to be very nice for us and for everybody else out here the rest of the day. If you're planning on coming out, taking some practice rounds, today's Military Appreciation Day.
It is, yep.
So concert tonight, all that good stuff. You're going to have a spectacular time of it. So, did James Gladstone and company have a spectacular time of it yesterday, Tony? I'm not saying what they did is bad. Look, I get where fans are coming from. They want to see some names they recognize, right? But have we not been down that road?
They want to be New England and Chicago.
Sure.
Like, they want to have the day today that the fans of those two franchises are going to have. You've had that before, Jacksonville.
Plenty of times.
Right? Like, you've been the team that was able to kind of run free agency to some degree. Now, look, I think the Jacksonville premium on all these players, that's a real thing, right? Like, I do think that there's been, even when they've done that, they've had to pay an extra dime or whatever on top of whatever it was going to be to get players to come to Jacksonville, given where the franchise was at different times right here in the last 15 years. How else are you going to convince people except we don't have state income tax, here's a little bit extra money, right? Like, that's basically the business that the Jaguars had to be in. Your new GM has been telling you since he stepped to the microphone basically for the first time, we're not doing business that way anymore.
Correct.
Right? Your owner has been saying we got to stop doing business that way, and I don't think it's because he's bothered by his checkbook being affected. He'll spend it. If the GM asks him to spend it, he'll spend it, but the GM has been saying we're not doing it that way. We're going to basically lift the base of the roster through free agency and find our stars in the draft. That's been the process he's talked about. Well, on a 90-man roster, they replaced 10% of the roster yesterday.
They did. And I think some reaction to it would have been a little less slack-jawed had they not gotten rid of both Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram.
I get
right?
it.
And you say, well, those are guys we've seen make plays for this football team.
Absolutely.
These guys, this collection of guys that you brought in, aren't proven playmakers, to be sure, right? And I get that. I do understand that. But you also look at, some of the salary cap implications and how they plan to use some of these players. I was talking with Dan and Jeff just a few minutes ago, Tone. I totally see the vision in what they did in signing a pair of tight ends yesterday that may catch 10 balls between them all year long, right? Johnny Munt and Hunter Long, and they both come from, now keep in mind, the teams you've got the best intel on, you got Grant Udinski coming from Minnesota, right? You got Anthony Campanile coming from Green Bay. Of course, you got the Rams connections with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen. Of course, the Tampa Bay connection from last year with Liam Cohen as well. So they should have a good feel about these players. And Long comes from the Rams, and Munt comes from Minnesota, where I guess Kevin O'Connell called him the best third tight end in football, right? And, in other words, that's his role. His role is not to be a star. His role is not to catch 50 passes or more than that. Obviously, Evan Ingram caught 114 2 years ago, and that's what catches your eye. But they're showing you what kind of offense they're building, and they're trying to stick to their principles. They have to protect better, yes, number one, but they want not only their tight ends, but their wide receivers to be physical in the run game. That's what these two guys are being brought in here to do, and at a cost of about $5 million against your salary cap each year for the next 2 years combined between the two of them, which when you look at the savings they got from Evan Ingram, they basically turned that around and brought in these two guys who they feel fit better in what they're trying to execute. And again, you look at what Luke Farrell got. 3 years, $20 million yesterday. Luke Farrell's a nice player, right? He probably has a little bit more receiving chops than these guys, but if you're not going to use him as a receiver.
No, he's a good pro.
3 years, $20 million to block tight end.
Right, the two guys they brought in are good pro tight ends. Right, they're not going to be the receiving tight ends, but they're good pro tight ends because tight ends are asked to do a whole lot more in the kind of offense that they want to be running than be the receiving threat. Evan Ingram would be that if they had brought him back, and I think most people would have been in favor of Evan Ingram playing out the contract here. Right? It's not a majority opinion they needed to move on from Evan Ingram in the fan base. I understand the process of what they're doing at the position, though, even if I don't completely agree with how they feel about the different options that they've had in this. And it was funny talking to fans yesterday on Twitter as it was happening, right? And they hadn't addressed the offensive line yet, and I'm watching people that are freaking out. When are they going to – and then it happened and went boom, boom, boom.
Right.
They did back-to-back-to-back. Now, how good are any of these players? I don't know. How long are any of them going to be starters for Jacksonville? Not that long would be my guess. 2 years maybe?
If that.
Right, for these guys. But what it does do, and we were talking about it before the show, and I've heard other people talking about it too, they have real flexibility in the draft. They're not committed to any position for any reason at this point in the draft process. They're not desperate to fill something on the roster right now. They're not even done with whatever free agency is going to be. I'm sure a couple more names will come out here over the next couple of weeks, right, that they're going to be bringing in on top of the 9. But these are the 9. They obviously prioritized these guys at these spots. And if you go into a free agency period saying they have to address interior offensive line, they have to address corner, they have to address safety, well, they did all three to at least some degree, and they did it all in a cost-effective way. And it's interesting to watch whatever the plan was from Gladstone finally taking shape. This is what it looks like when you're rebuilding the bottom half of your roster.
Well, it's cost-effective if they can play. Right? Like, Eric Murray comes with, he's just a guy, and by some metrics, he's not a very good guy.
Yeah.
In terms of on-the-field presence. I assume all these guys, Tony, are intangibly rich because that is the code word that we're giving out. But they clearly, look, I don't think they just randomly pulled names out of a hat, right? No. I think they feel like these guys fit a vision of a role that they have in mind for them. Doesn't mean they're going to be right. All along we've talked about how many starters will they come out of free agency with? And right, it's like 1.5, 2.5. Like if you set the over/under at 2.5, it's tough. I think if you consider nickel corner a starter, which I think you do in today's NFL, Jordan Lewis is clearly a starter for this football team. I think McCarty's contract indicates that he'll be a starter. Right now, Eric Murray on paper looks to be one, and probably Hainsey by process of elimination is your center. For now, it looks like you have 4 starters now on the offensive line. You're replacing basically nobody because you don't have Brandon Scherff and Mitch Morse, and that's apologies to the backups already on the roster. You were backups on a 4-win team, right? Yeah. You were not good enough and needed to be upgraded. How big of an upgrade these turn out to be, I don't know. But look, we talked about yesterday, who's the first guy you want to have them make the call to? You wanted an interior offensive lineman. I say Chris Godwin. Right before noon, word comes out, Chris Godwin's off the table, right? Got a deal done with the Bucs. Okay, so he's gone. Usually the first name you hear about is the primary target. And Jordan Lewis, they went immediately out there. Now, maybe they had this all set up, but, that was the first guy, the first domino to fall. Yeah. So, do they look at Jarian Jones as an outside corner? Because it seems to me that at the very least, he's a promising young nickel, right? That if you didn't feel like he could play outside, this feels like a redundant move, and you're investing. Now, granted, if you feel like he can do that on a rookie deal, you look at what the cornerback market is, right? The decent ones are getting $20 million plus, right? Tyson Campbell's not making $20 million plus. You think about that. Like everybody, all the quote, name guys in free agency were getting 3 years, 60 or better on these deals. Jordan Lewis is going to be about half that. And if he is as good at nickel as his reputation that precedes him, if he can carry that over here and you have Tyson Campbell and Jarian Jones, you feel can be an ascending player, you may add a corner in the draft, but you may look and go, well, we got Monteric Brown, we've got Prince. It's not a high priority. If it falls to us at the right spot, but now this isn't one where you go, man, if Will Johnson's there, we really got to consider this, or Jahdae Barron in the second round.
They don't have to do anything in the draft. Like, they can let it play out the way that it plays out, and they put themselves in a good position going into the draft to just take the best player that'll be available to them in these spots. That doesn't mean that they're not going to draft somebody somewhere in the first 3 rounds that's going to wind up being the starter at guard or center. It doesn't mean that that's out of the picture because of what they did yesterday, but they don't have to draft a starting guard or center. Like, they can play football with what they have on the roster with the 3 guys that they're adding. Doesn't mean that they won't still work to improve some of these spots, but going into yesterday, what were they going to be playing at guard? If they had to play center, Fortner would be going in.
Right. Fortner would have been one of your starters for sure. Cooper Hodges, you hope, would be returning from injury or something.
Right. We spent the last couple weeks, we've done the top 5 building blocks, right? And the real kind of takeaway I've had from doing that the last couple weeks on the top 5 has been how few building blocks they have on the roster, right? And when you start looking at the depth on the roster at all these different spots, it's like they got no punch anywhere. Beyond their handful of the top-tier guys that they have as starters on this, they had no punch anywhere else in the roster. So they had nowhere to turn. It's not like, well, this isn't working for that. We can go here and see what it looks like. They didn't have any of that. So when the GM is going to talk about we have to build the roster up, right, like that kind of thing, that the process of that is what free agency looked like yesterday for the Jaguars. Did they get it all right? I have no idea. No one will know until we get these guys on the field and see what it actually looks like. But I don't mind saying this is our process and then being this committed to it on the first day of free agency.
All right, well, here's our question we're asking today. We actually asked it last night because we knew it was more fresh in people's minds. But the poll will run basically as if we had just posted it right now through tomorrow. We're asking you, how do you feel about the collection of free agents that the Jaguars agreed to terms with on Monday? So just, that group of 9, and your options are A, I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Mm-hmm. There are some people like that. B, this is the code phrase everyone's using, raising the floor. Yeah. We're getting the bottom of the roster better. Well, that's good. Often you kind of win games with the top of the roster mostly. Yeah. But option 3, it's a pile of mid. Just a pile of mid-level guys that don't excite me. Like, that's similar. It's like the other side of the same coin with raising the floor. That's more about your perspective on it.
It's a fair reaction, yeah.
And then option D or 4 or whatever is so disappointed, right? Yeah. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. So are you kind of meh? Are you upset? Are you ecstatic? Do you say, I get it? You don't have to be raising the floor necessarily exciting.
No.
So anyway, you can vote on that today if you want to on social media. Hit us up at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and of course at 1010XL Denmark.
It has begun.
Denmark, how you doing, man? How are things back at World Headquarters?
Man, I feel like I just made the most fire open about 10 minutes ago, so I'm just living.
It was
that
great.
moment.
You could probably get another day out of that open too,
or 2 or 3.
I appreciate you using a play the corner made against our current coach. Like, I do really appreciate that.
I didn't even think about that.
That's all right.
Oh, well.
You know what? We look, you found a play. So that was the important thing. So what do we get there? We got Johnny Munt. We got Nick Mullen throwing a touchdown. We got Jordan Lewis. Who else did you have in there?
Dami Brown.
Dami Brown, of
That's
course.
it.
Lest I forget, Dami Brown, which is an interesting case. We'll talk about him coming up as well. Look, I'm not trying to drink the Kool-Aid or spill it upon the fan base here. Like, these are eat your vegetables kind of moves in a lot of ways. And sometimes you get a vegetable and you're like, you're thinking this is going to be good for me. And the vegetable is a little, out of date. It's been in the root cellar for too long. Yeah. So I don't know if all these guys are even going to fulfill the vision they have for them, not to be stars, but to be, pieces on this team. We'll find out, but we'll talk about it with you today. And we welcome your calls, your texts, your tweets, your thoughts, however you want to communicate them with us, 641-1010 on the phone lines or on the text line. designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You can hop in the YouTube virtual studio chat. How are we looking on YouTube? I feel like we're looking kind of tiny out here, Dylan,
yeah,
right?
you're a little small. The Wi-Fi is good and not good at the same time. It's in and out, but you're mostly
Oh,
good.
is it?
Yeah,
okay. Well, as long as you can hear us, we're still primarily a radio program, but you can watch us over on YouTube. And there you go. Hi, everybody. We do look very tiny, and because it's just like we're in a white tent, Tone, and the camera's got a zoomed out look to it. But nevertheless, you can check us out there. Check us out on social media. John Shipley is going to join us from Jaguar Report coming up in about 25 minutes to give his assessment of how day one went. So we want your thoughts on it, good or bad or otherwise, or are you in wait and see mode? You have to be to some degree, in wait and see mode, or do you expect us to be, shock jock radio and tell you exactly this is an A+, Tony? The 98.7 rating. The Jacksonville Jaguars have killed free agency. I'd like to see one of these guys with a 98.7 rating on PFF. That would be good.
That'd be sweet.
Anyway, day two upon us, and here's the question. How much cap space do they have? I've seen a lot of reports indicating still about $30 million.
Yeah.
I go into spot track and over the cap, they don't have all the contract info. So I don't know if everyone's estimating, guesstimating, whatever the case may be, but let's say they do have about $30 million. Well, just before the little mini purge that they had of moving off of some veterans, they had about $38 million, right? So you brought in all these guys, basically, and you're saying, yes, I understand. You have an affection for Christian Kirk. You have an affection for Evan Ingram. But the return on the dollars isn't there, and we don't, or the fit isn't there, whatever the case. And even if they were here, they're probably here for one more season. Instead, we're going to try to turn these resources into some backfill kind of. Some of these guys, quite frankly, that's what they're going to be. They signed them to be backups in some cases, and others, maybe they'll exceed expectations. We'll find out. Let's talk about it today. Just absolutely beautiful out here in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, as we await the players in a couple of days. So we'll have our eye on that, but no concerns about the weather today. So come on out. And where are we? In the Palm Valley Village, I think this is called,
We are in the village, yeah.
So if you're like behind the ninth green, if you're standing directly behind the ninth green looking at the green, just turn to your right and we're a few paces away. If you want to come by and say hello, we just ask. Wait until we're on the break when we'd have the headset off, and it's easier to have a little person-to-person chat with you that way. But we'd love to see you. So stop on by. Looking forward to a great week of broadcasting out here all week long. Jaguars Today on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. 1010XL. Proud to be an American. Proud to live in America. 1010XL. Jacksonville Sports Radio.
The 2025 NFL season is right around the corner, and the Jags are building something special. A fresh team, a new culture, and a stadium that's going to change the game. Be there to witness head coach Liam Cohen and the rest of the coaching crew in action by securing your season tickets today. Become a member to get access to exclusive experiences, VIP events, and more. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank this fall.
If you've been in an auto accident, you can count on the experts at San Jose Collision to return your vehicle to pre-accident conditions. San Jose Collision can also provide a fresh paint job to freshen up your vehicle or completely change its appearance. They can paint and repair all foreign and domestic cars and trucks. When quality and professionalism are important to you, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round one of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
Florida homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Spend $6,000 and get up to $600 off. $15,000 up to $2,000 off. $20,000 up to $3,000 off. This deal ends March 31st. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Tired of changing out bad sod year after year? Get it done right with Roundtree Sod. Big or small, they have it, and always supplied farm fresh. For a lush, legendary green lawn, call 7414-SOD for a free estimate. 7414-SOD.
Get to know positions and players. The 1010XL Ultimate Draft Guide is brought to you by Blue Haven Pools, the #1 pool builder in Jacksonville. Follow rankings and roundtables as the draft takes shape. Go to 1010XL.com/2025 draft guide to get yours.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
Hey gang, Prosser here. We've talked about some of the struggles that you may come across when it comes time to sell your home. We've told you how great Chad and Sandy are at chadandsandy.com. But, you know, they're also great when things are going good and the economy is showing positive signs. Now may be the time to sell your home at the price you want. It's easy to find out. Get friendly expert help from the Jacksonville agents who eat and sleep local real estate. Call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Chad and Sandy can do that. Maybe you're worried you won't sell your home for the price you need. Well, let's take care of that right now because here's the Chad and Sandy guarantee. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Jonathan in Mount Pleasant said the only thing standing between me and my dream of traveling in my RV was the sale of my Mount Pleasant home. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Crazy results in just 3 days. Multiple offers, full asking price. You can get it too. Call today or go to chadandsandy.com.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to ITPPartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Everyone seems to be in a time crunch these days. Well, don't forget you can always count on the cold case at Daly's. Always convenient, always cold. Whether it's the king of beers, Natty Light, Stella, or Cigar City, or Goose Island, or Bud Light Seltzer, dash into Daly's and grab one to go.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, Tony, how you doing over there? You okay?
I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Bush Drive Rich on the text line. Said, nice pullover, Demps. Thank you. I've had it for quite a while, but it's probably my favorite piece of Jaguar apparel that I own. I need you to keep Fat Tony warm so he can unfold those arms.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
All right.
I live for this weather.
Okay.
To be honest. Like, I love.
Tony's like short sleeves. That's it.
Yeah, mid-50s. This does not bother me in the slightest.
We're probably in the 60s right now, I would think.
This is wonderful.
But whatever the case, thank you, Rich, for the observation, but not for the second half of the observation. Tony's on his own. Like, if Tony was freezing to death, I would lend him my pullover. Or I'd just give him a big hug because we're that kind of friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's okay. I just wanted to check on you right there. All right, Tony, we got a lot of these players to check on here. By the way, Jags reporters did a nice job keeping us updated yesterday. I told you we'll have John Shipley coming up here shortly. In fact, we got to hit the break here because we went long in the first segment.
Yeah,
but
D-Rock was killing it.
D-Rock was killing it, and he'll join us tomorrow to break down this and what other moves they end up doing or making in the next 24 hours or so. But for today, let's focus in on Dami Brown on today's 10-10 Take.
10-10 Take. Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 Take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
All right, Dami Brown, wide receiver, comes to the Jags from Washington on a one-year, $10 million deal. And, okay, did the Jags need a receiver? Absolutely. They let Christian Kirk go. Parker Washington is a reasonable facsimile of Christian Kirk. We don't know what we're going to get out of Gabe Davis, but I think they like his ability to be physical, to be a blocker outside the numbers, and that can fit what they're going to do. And, look, Gabe Davis is locked on this roster based on his contract. Mm-hmm. It costs you way more to not have Gabe Davis than to have him. So just have him. And, of course, you got BTJ at the top, who everybody loves. And but they don't have a clear-cut number two. I don't think Dami Brown is that necessarily, Tony. The interesting thing, he's a fast guy. But if you look at his yards per catch average last year, early in his career, like 14. His second year, he only caught 5 balls, but he averaged nearly 29 yards a catch on those. You're like, oh, is this guy a deep threat? Well, last year, his usage, 3 games, played 16 out of 17, only caught 30 balls for 10.3 yards on average, and he had one of the best yards after catch averages in the National Football League, which is about 7.5. So he was not stretching the field at all.
No, he was catching a bunch of screens.
A lot of screens, exactly, and run after the catch. And I presume they think he's a physical guy who fits in with that aspect of what they want to do. They want to be able to run the football effectively, to take pressure, because it's good, right? You can run clock. When you're playing ahead, you can, dictate pace and all this. To be able to run when you want to run is a luxury.
Game, yeah.
It's fantastic, right? And that helps your quarterback. And everybody understands you've got to have a dynamic passing game to go along with it. Look, the Eagles could run it down your throat, but they also have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. They've got a lot of weapons there. So, I don't think Dami Brown comes in. I don't think he's your number 2. I don't think there is a number 2 on this team right now. I think there's a hole opened up. Now, you can look at what Washington did last year. They had Terry McLaurin. And they had guys like Dami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus, and there was no one guy that rose above. They made it to the NFC Championship game with one guy accounting for an abnormally large percentage of the success at the wide receiver position. So Dami Brown is a piece. I don't think he's a long-term fixture here, a la the one-year contract that they gave him. But like you said, Tone, they don't go into the draft going, we have to have Ted McMillan at 5. If it's 10 or bust, or if we don't get him, we have to get a receiver by 36 because the drop-off's going to be great. I think they're going to draft a receiver. They might draft a couple of receivers, honestly, this year. So it's a curious piece, though. 1 year, $10 million. It's kind of like what Tutu Atwell signed with the L.A. Rams last week, a guy many people thought the Jags would have an interest in because of his success in that Rams-style, McVay-style offense. But, it's another one of it's this kind of stopgap. We see some traits. By the way, we got to get past the sticker shock. $10 million is a lot of real-world money. It's just not a crazy amount of money. Andre Sisco signed a one-year deal yesterday for $10 million with the Jets, right? Like, if he thought he had a multi-year deal out there, he would not have signed a one-year deal, right? If he thought he could have gotten $20 million guaranteed on a 3-year contract or whatever the case, I don't think he would have signed that deal. But that's kind of the cost of a still youngish guy going into his second contract who's flashed once or twice and hasn't put it all together, and you hope it comes together for you and you got to spend $10 million to go get that. That's just the economics of the National Football League.
Absolutely. And at the wide receiver position, it's usually a whole lot more punitive, right? Because wide receivers, who knows what Jamar Chase is getting ready to get, right? Whenever that deal gets done, I mean, the Bengals were very open with, we're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Okay, well, that bar is now at $40 million to sign Jamar Chase back. Who knows where that's going to wind up being? But there are plenty of receivers that are going to be getting $30 million a year. That's not going to be uncommon. And with that position specifically, we can all remember the conversations we had about Christian Kirk when he got signed. And the whole world freaked out about the amount of money that was on that contract. And we said it when it happened. This will not be a big deal by the time he gets to the end of year 2. No one's going to care how much money Christian Kirk is getting by that time. And that was made clear by Tyreek Hill getting his deal redone right after the Kirk deal. Now, maybe Miami's like, did you really have to put us in a bind to that degree by getting that deal done? And, yeah, the cost probably went up on Tyreek Hill for Miami. I don't care about Miami's financial position with any of these guys. And the money just keeps going up and up and up. If you're getting a guy that is a role player, wide receiver 3 or 4 for $10 million for 1 year, that's fine. Like, as far as the way you handle money in the National Football League, that's fine. But I tend to agree with you. I don't know exactly what to expect out of Dami Brown this year. I expect him to be the 3 or 4.
Right. He's a 3 or 4.
Right. And that's fine. And we'll see. It certainly doesn't mean they're not doing anything in the draft or that they won't do anything next week at wide receiver. I don't know. What else is going to be in store? We know the 9 names that they've added to this point. We'll see what else they're going to add. I'm not saying that I'm trying to open the door to Cooper Kupp because I don't think that door is very open necessarily here in Jacksonville, but I wouldn't be surprised if they added another body at the position here over the course of the next
if Cooper Kupp gets released and he wants to sign for a reasonable amount of money, whatever, I don't know what reasonable would be in the eyes of the Jaguars brass. Maybe they are keeping their powder dry and waiting for him to be released because there's a lot of talk. If the Rams can't deal him, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Way more interested in him at whatever that price would be than what it is right now.
No question. I'm not inheriting that contract and giving up draft capital to do it as well. But there is a chance. Like, if Cooper Kupp's on here, I'd expect Cooper Kupp to be the second most productive receiver on this football team.
Absolutely.
As long as he stayed healthy this year. I think that opportunity is still there to get a guy high in the draft if they want to go that direction and have that guy come in. And he has to earn the spot, but see a clear path to being the number 2 in the short term to Brian Thomas Jr., obviously, for the long term as well. All right, let's take a break here. We'll come back. John Shipley from Jaguar Report over at Sports Illustrated going to join us to weigh in on day 1 of the Jaguars hitting the free agent market. You're welcome to join us as well. Go vote in today's poll, just asking your impressions of the 9 guys they agreed to terms with yesterday. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, live out at the Players' Championship. Yeah, I don't think that looks like a porta potty to me. Somebody asked if Dylan if we're set up next to the porta potty. We're just in a tent that happens to be billowing at times, but I'm sure there's one in the area, because they want to make it convenient for everybody out here. But absolutely gorgeous day, so come on out, enjoy a little practice round golf in a stress-free environment, and you're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Now, Studio Talk with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
We are them. It is we. Us. We are.
The Drill.
He is one brother, and I am the other brother.
Mornings on 1010XL.
We got different mothers.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
Hicken here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Need fresh and flavorful lunch? Chicken Salad Chick has scratch-made Southern-style chicken salad in every bite. It's quick and delicious, so why wait? Come taste the best chicken salad today at Town Center, Durbin Park, or Butler Point at Chicken Salad Chick.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, Rural Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Big names, new jerseys.
To me, the most important aspect of winning is chemistry.
Follow the free agent frenzy. Built by Superior Fence and Rail and Roland Leash Plumbing. Tune up the off-season with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
Firefighters, paramedics, police officers, they take care of us, and at AMCO, we're proud to take care of them. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. As an essential business, we work on every kind of car repair with flexible financing and extra safety precautions. Essential, reliable, trusted. That's the men and women who are there for us, and it's our honor to be there for them. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia. AMCO Transmissions and Total Car Care.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Enhance your home with Renewal by Anderson's exclusive 31-day spring event. Experience superior craftsmanship and timeless design with buy one, get one 40% off custom replacement windows and patio doors. Enjoy the ease of 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 12 months. This offer expires March 31st. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Florida Gators. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Trying to figure pricing at most AC companies is like listening to an auctioneer.
Who wants an AC tune-up? Do I hear $3.99? How about $2.99? No, let's drop it. $79? Do we have a deal? Going once, going twice? Sold!
Not at Duck Duck Air Conditioning. We make it easy. We're offering a free AC inspection. No gimmicks, no fine print, just a completely free checkup from our highly trained techs to make sure your AC is ready for summer. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, because free is better than bidding. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror, fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, child care leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal Opportunity Employer. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, before we welcome in the man, the myth, John Shipley here, just one interesting transaction to pass along. A day after trading Laramie Tunsil to the Washington Commanders, their starting left tackle. The Texans have just decided to trade their starting left guard, Kenyon Green, to the Eagles in exchange for defensive back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. So Johnson will bring his mouth to the South. And a fifth-round pick goes from Houston to Philadelphia. They get a sixth-round pick back, so a little bit of a pick swap in Philly's favor there. So the entire left side, the starting left side of the Texans' offensive line is gone. Right now, it wasn't particularly good last year, so maybe they look at it that way, like, hey, you know what? Yes, their names but they didn't play very well for us, and we've got to upgrade there. Obviously, we want to keep our eye on the Jaguars division rivals. We welcome in John Shipley now from Jaguar Report. Good morning, Ship. How are you?
Hey, doing good, my friends. How y'all doing?
Doing okay. I mean, so not splashy names on day one. Which signing do you think is the biggest key for the Jaguars' 2025 success among the ones they agreed to yesterday?
Yeah, I think the two I go to are Jordan Lewis and Patrick McCarry. I know, obviously, there are questions about kind of logjam the Jaguars now have with the defensive backs who translate better to inside than anywhere else. But it shouldn't be mistaken. Jordan Lewis is one of the better slot cornerbacks in the entire NFL. You know, he has a ton of experience, played a lot of different roles for Dallas, played in a lot of different defenses, and excelled in all of them, and arguably had his best year last year. So you're not getting a guy that's declining. You know, if anything, he's continuing to get better as he continues to get experience in the NFL. I think he can be an impact guy in the secondary as they sort everything out on where people are going to play. And then McCarry, I expect him to be the starting right guard, but the beauty with his game is that if they face any injuries moving forward, they have a guy who has proven he can play quality snaps at all five offensive line positions. That gives them great flexibility. It gives them a big edge when it comes to the active game day roster. Maybe they can carry one less offensive lineman because they know that, he can fill in really in any spot, even including center. So I think those are the two names that jump out to me as the most high-impact signings that they made.
We know Jarian Jones has been talked about as an impact player potentially for them as the slot player for them coming out of his rookie year. What does he look like if they do ask him now to just be an outside corner? Is he capable of stepping up into that role?
Yeah, it's definitely a transition. It's a much different role. Being inside in the slot, you're a lot more involved in run fits, blitzes, etc. A lot of things that Jarian does really well. The one thing with Jarian is that while he didn't play outside much, if any, really last year, he does have experience going back to college playing the role, both at FSU and Mississippi State. He's done it before. Trent Baalke said when they drafted him last year that he thought that was something he could potentially, even do for them. They didn't feel like they had to put him in outside corner last year because they had Buster Brown. They had to move Darnell Savage back to safety because of the issues at safety, and he was the most logical fit inside. But I think he's a guy you at the very least, thanks to his, elite athleticism, toughness, competitiveness, you want to at least see and give him a chance to kind of win a job somewhere in the secondary, especially after what he put on film last year.
Look, John, I understand, and I think we all have to remind ourselves that they have a vision for how they want to run their football team. And they, for instance, probably didn't feel Evan Ingram was a great fit in their offense for the way they want to do things. Okay, for the cap savings we get by not having him, we can go out and replace him with two guys who are not going to be primary pass catchers. They're going to be primary blockers. So I understand all that, and so I understand fits. Eric Murray's an interesting one to me because, for double what you gave him, you could have gotten what is considered by many the top safety on the market. Javon Holland signed a 3-year deal with the Giants for $45 million, which is double what Murray got here. And no state income tax. I think you put the same contract on the table, he's probably taking the one from the Jags. But what is it about Murray that you think they see in him? Because, his reputation was that he was kind of average at best among safeties last year.
Yeah, and honestly, I think maybe, just looking at this safety group, guys like Cam Bynum, Trayvon Moehrig, obviously Javon Holland, who have all got big paydays. It just seems like they, from my perspective, are not seeing safety as a position that they want to spend that kind of money on. A lot of people connected them throughout the NFL to Holland, but I said yesterday that, I was getting the sense that as free agency inched closer, it seemed like he was kind of pricing himself out of where they wanted to go to at safety. And, James Gladstone comes from a place in Los Angeles where that's kind of how they viewed safety. They would make moves here now and then, but they weren't going to set the market. They weren't going to hand out major deals. And it just seems like there's a lot of the Rams' influence on how they kind of went about building this thing on the first day of free agency. I think in Murray, like you said, you're probably getting an average, veteran spot starter, et cetera. It's not somebody they gave a ton of money to. It's not somebody who will be on the roster for the next 4 to 5 years, et cetera. I view him really as a Band-Aid, to help them get through the 2025 season at safety, et cetera, as they explore, finding guys they can draft and develop at the position.
The only player they only gave the one-year deal to was Dami Brown for $10 million for 2025. What do you think is fair to expect from him in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think people are looking at him as a Christian Kirk replacement simply because they traded Kirk and then signed Brown. I don't view it that way. If you look at his career splits, he's played significantly more snaps on the outside than he has in the slot throughout his entire career. So he's a guy who I think when they go 11 personnel, you'll see him at the Z position at wide receiver. You'll see him get a lot of screens, a lot of vertical routes, etc. Christian Kirk was more of a guy who dominated the middle of the field, the intermediate part from the inside, whereas Brown, he's going to be a guy who gets his vertical shots downfield, really good after the catch. He's a really good scheme fit, I think, with Cohen. And, $10 million, looking at what Tutu Atwell, for example, got with the Rams, that seems like the going rate for number 3 wide receiver in the NFL right now. So I think expect him to have, some big plays here and there, but I wouldn't expect him to obviously be a focal point of the offense. But he's going to have some stuff schemed up for him just simply because of how well his skill set fits with Liam Cohen's scheme.
Where do you think this leaves them in terms of the remainder of free agency? In cap space, John, I've heard estimations they still have around $30 million. I haven't seen any site that has the contract info on all the guys they agreed to terms with, so I'm not sure if anyone knows exactly, but do you think they'll still backfill with a few more signings? Do you think they're maybe going to wait out Cooper Kupp getting released, or are they done for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I saw a couple of those projections and seen the big spenders, and then you look and they say they only had 5 players listed for the Jags instead of the full 9. They definitely have a lot more room to work with and spend. I think that they're going to continue adding guys. I think that's going to be in the double digits in terms of free agents they bring in. I don't think any major names or anything like that. I think it'll mostly be the kind of guys that you're seeing, spot starters, depth guys, the guys who, like I said, essentially, for lack of a better word, are Band-Aids for the roster right now as they go toward, kind of overturning what had been built the last few years. So they do have some flexibility. I'm not sure, especially after the Brown signing, that how interested they will be in a guy like Kupp. It kind of seems like, while they definitely do need to add more to the receiver position, it seems like, just simply because of the contract they gave Brown, that they see him as a starter. Gabe Davis isn't going anywhere. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. is the number 1 receiver. Kind of feels like they're set in terms of starting receivers. So I think maybe they continue to look in the secondary, maybe another safety, an outside cornerback, etc. And defensive line, they haven't added an edge or a defensive tackle yet. Those are 2 spots where they definitely need improved depth. So those are the kind of spots I'm looking at as they move forward.
What impact does what they did yesterday have on the draft?
Yeah, no, I think, honestly, it sets them up perfectly to take truly the best player available at number 5. They in my opinion now, shouldn't feel cornered into any kind of pick. They added a receiver. They added secondary pieces. They added 3 different guys to the offensive line. I think definitely they had the flexibility to kind of do what they want with the pick. I'm still thinking trenches, whether that's Mason Graham, a defensive tackle, whether it's even adding still another offensive lineman and just putting the best 5 out there, really putting a big emphasis into investment on the trenches, even if it seems like overkill for 2025. That's still kind of where my head is thinking. I'm still thinking trench at number 5, whether it's offense or defense. But they set themselves up well to the point where they shouldn't feel forced to take any one specific position.
Yeah, I don't have an issue if they're looking at a particular wide receiver. I'm not even saying it has to be McMillan, whomever they like early on. Ship, because, Dami Brown here for 1 year. Gabe Davis could be rolled off the roster next year, right? So you're going to kind of be right back in that same position again. And at least now you've got a circumstance where a guy can come in and you feel like, I've got veterans who can play. We don't need you to be, the savior opposite Brian Thomas right away. So I still think, like you said, everything's in play. It's just there's no one thing that you have to take at this particular time. So what is your day like today? Just hanging loose, waiting for more shoes to drop, or what are we doing?
So I said yesterday I was excited to see, what a new regime does. I had no expectations for what to expect. I didn't expect to have to do 9 breaking stories yesterday. So I'm hoping that maybe they take, the day off, maybe look at some more guys Friday. But, especially in the first few days of free agency, it's really one of those times where, reporters are really, on call, like 24/7. Like you're waiting for something to happen. You don't know that it will, but you're prepared for it. So I'll be by my phone, working the phones all day, talking to people, obviously typing up a storm, ready for whatever the Jaguars have for us.
All right, brother. Well, continued success. You and the beat writers have done a great job here. You always do, but yesterday particularly right on top of it. You can go to SI.com's Jaguar Report and read all of Ship's thoughts on all the different signings that we may not have covered here on Jaguars Today. We appreciate your time this morning, my friend, and let's see what day 2 of the legal tampering period brings for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I appreciate you, fellas.
All right, buddy. There he goes. John Shipley out the door. A little overview of what's going down. I don't know, Tone. I mean, look, I get you're paying Dami Brown $10 million, but I don't think, for me, I still think a guy like Cooper Kupp could be in the mix. And I've not been on this, they must have Cooper Kupp. And I don't think they're necessarily in that boat either. I just wouldn't write it off. I don't think the Dami Brown signing changes that at all for me. I think he's an interesting piece with some tools, but again, he's on a 1-year deal, right? So, it's not even like you're developing him for the future here necessarily. I still think, like, if they went and they, now trading back may be a difficult proposition now because, for instance, the Raiders trade for Geno Smith, the Jets signed Justin Fields, they gave him starters money. There's not as much incentive for either one of those teams to trade up to your pick to add a little draft capital.
Sure.
But if they like Ted McMillan and they think he's the guy there, I can see that vision that, okay, you know what? He doesn't need to have all this burden on his shoulders immediately. If he flashes and shows he can handle it, great. We'll quickly ascend him to the top of the depth chart right behind Brian Thomas Jr., and we're going to have him for a long time because, look, life comes at you fast in the NFL. 2 more years go by, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be looking for a big-time extension, right?
Sure.
It wouldn't be bad to have another wide receiver on a rookie deal, but they have given themselves some flexibility for which direction they're going to go. If you want to get in hour number 2, you're welcome to do that. Tony will take us around the league, and there's plenty going around the National Football League, plenty going on. So we'll get into all that. Hour 2 coming up live at the Players' Championship. We got a great view of the clubhouse from where we sit right behind the 9th green. Stop by, say hello, whether it's today or any other weekday. We'll be out here broadcasting 10 to noon with Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. You're going to get your steps in out here, but here's the beautiful thing about Awaken 180 Weight Loss. You don't need a program of heavy-duty exercise. You don't have to count your steps. All you have to do, kind of count your meals, right? It's teaching you what to eat, when to eat, how frequently to eat to help boost your metabolism, turn your body into a fat-burning machine, and Awaken 180 has gotten tremendous results with over 24,000 clients over the last decade plus, developing a long-term solution for weight loss. You don't need any kind of medications, injections, or any of that stuff, that as soon as you go off it, the weight's going to come right back on. In fact, with Awaken 180, free support for life is the backbone of their program, has been for over a decade. That means lasting results. Hit your goal weight. They're going to give you free coaching and support for life and continue along that weight loss journey that you're on right now. New Year's resolutions, forget it. A New Year revolution. Lose weight with Awaken 180 online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Superior products, exceptional service. From the preseason to the playoffs and every day in between.
Each man individually preparing himself to be the best he could possibly be. Better than he's ever been. Because that's what it's going to take.
At 1010XL, the season never ends.
The Hoops action continues on the first Friday of the tourney. Watch the madness with 1010XL and enjoy madness specials all day long. Starting with Helmets and Heels live from Big Dog's Tavern on Blanding. Then join XL Primetime at Barley and Pie in Fleming Island. The Frangie Show will be at String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach and finish the day with Into the Night with Rick Ballou and Hacker After Dark at Big Dog Tavern in Old St. Augustine Road. Now that's the way to celebrate hoop.
Oh my! Pizza to tea here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes through in the clutch? From lunch to late night, only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Stick around after the sunset, and Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late night bites. Come on, somebody.
It's time to keep the party going. All Parrot Heads unite once again with Jimmy Buffett's Coral Reefer Band.
It's 5 o'clock show.
Live in Jacksonville.
Wasted away again.
Daly's Place, Saturday, March 15th. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Let's keep the party going with a tribute to Jimmy Buffett featuring the Coral Reefer Band. One night only, Saturday, March 15th, Daly's Place.
The Mr. Chubby's Bracket Challenge is coming. Following Selection Sunday, go to 1010XL.com, print your bracket, and bring it to any Mr. Chubby's Wings during Live Madness games. Get a free Miller Lite for every game you pick right. Top prize, Saturday passes to Welcome to Rockville.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group, 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town. Setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood Jewelers. Clayton, why is it that when you look at how long a store has been in business, that it always seems to be the stores like Underwood's that sell fine quality that have been around the longest?
Frank, that's a question that really doesn't get asked a lot, but it should be. There are a number of reasons, but probably the biggest is because of the endorsements our longtime customers and their pieces of jewelry have given us through the years. You see, when you sell really fine quality jewelry, that piece will last longer and always stay beautiful. It might stay in the same family for generations, and through those years of wear, a lot of compliments will be made and a lot of people will be told where the piece of jewelry came from. You see, at a store like Underwood's, it's our stated goal to be the best jeweler in the South, not the biggest, so everything we do and carry has to help move us toward that goal. And ultimately, it's the satisfied customers wearing fine quality jewelry that have kept Underwood's in Jacksonville since 1928.
Underwood's in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
Hey folks, Hicken here for Zero Res. You're going to want to beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Hey, and take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Don't forget about your air ducts. Your air ducts sort of like the lungs of your home. If they're dirty, your indoor air quality suffers. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com. Tell them Dan or 1010XL sent you. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative, letting you know that Hardball now offers web stores, so your employees can order their own branded gear, and you have more time for Wordle. Check it out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Florida Gators sophomore forward Alex Condon had one of the most impressive performances in all of basketball last week, scoring 44 points and 25 rebounds in 2 games. Condon was awarded the SEC Player of the Week. As the Gators approached the SEC tournament, head coach Todd Golden took a minute to speak on his accomplishment for Condon and the performance he had.
And over these past 2 games, I think the numbers speak for themselves. He's had a remarkable week. Hard pressed to find a guy that deserves SEC Player of the Week more than him. And he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now, shooting the ball well. He's just really getting on the glass. That's something that, when he's playing with that reckless abandon, going to the backboard and clearing it, he's on his stuff. And he's just playing with a lot of confidence right now. It's fun to see.
It's 62 degrees at 11:01. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, we are live out at the Players. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark back in World Headquarters as free agency week has opened up. Legal tampering continues today and tomorrow. The Jags will presumably ink at least 9 guys on the dotted line. We have seen in the past players agree to terms with teams and then change their mind, but it's not that common of an occurrence.
Looking at you, Tyson Alualu.
Now, he's one of them, right? And, look, that's just kind of the nature of the business, right? We wanted him a few years ago. He ended up staying in Pittsburgh after agreeing to terms here. It happens. I don't see that being the case with most of the guys that the Jags
Probably
went
not.
after yesterday, right? Jordan Lewis is probably the biggest household name if you follow the NFL closely, Tony, and I think obviously it was, based on the fact that he was the first name associated and agreeing to terms with the team, that was their priority to go out there. We thought corner was the likely place that they'd find a starter, but I thought it'd be an outside guy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people did, but maybe they just looked at the calculus and they said, okay, we can have an outside guy. We pay him $22 million a year, which some of these guys are getting, the top of the market outside guys, which doesn't mean just because they're the top of the market that they're the top of the league, but nevertheless.
Yeah, they're available.
Right, they're available. They're the top among the available players, and they're all getting about $20 million a year. So instead, we'll get a guy who's really good at covering the slot as a nickel corner, and we'll pay him half that. And so we see, I'm presuming they see something in Jarian Jones, because we all saw flashes from Jarian Jones last year. I can't imagine that this is the case of Jarian Jones is just becoming your dime back, right?
Probably not.
That seems like a bad use of resources to me. So I think they looked at it and they said, well, okay, we could go the outside route, pay a guy this, or we could do it this way, and we think that, Lewis is going to be as good at his job as an outside guy might be at his job, and so many big-time players line up in the slot now. That's an important position for a football team. So, economically, it's all going to make sense. And speaking of making sense, I know Trent Baalke's gone, but that contract he signed Tyson Campbell to already looks like a bargain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Tyson Campbell were on the market right now at his age, and I get it, Tyson Campbell hasn't been Sauce Gardner, okay, as a lockdown guy.
Right.
But if he were a free agent, I think he would have been right there, if not at the top of this class of free agents.
Well, and they would have been in a position where they'd be having to figure out what to pay one of these guys. If it wasn't going to be Tyson, they'd have to do one or the other, right? Like, they're not going to sign someone to be the slot corner. You know, in free agency yesterday, that's not where they'd be looking. We got to find someone that can play outside. So they'd be in a position to be spending what they spent last year or more.
More, probably.
For Tyson Campbell. And, look, we discussed it over the course of the season last year. I wasn't in favor of the Tyson Campbell extension when it happened. I'm still not totally in favor of it because I don't think he's shown enough the last couple of years to be all that comfortable with it, right? So maybe they'd be better off if they were in the free agent market trying to sign one of these guys, but they would have to pay the premium of trying to get one of these guys in the free agent market. I think he's a talented player, and he needs to start playing up to it. That second year, he was fantastic. He was just great that season, but he's just kind of been okay the last couple of years. He's not getting paid to be okay. I think he's capable of giving him a lot more. I'm not totally against the contract, but I'm not on board for it necessarily either. Like, he's a guy that I'm very much right in the middle of how to feel about that going forward. They're saving a little bit of money, though, having done it last year as opposed to waiting a year to do it. They'd be paying a premium, that's for sure.
Right, they save a little bit of money. And, like, again, I could argue that, like, compared to DJ Reed, DJ Reed has played his best football when he's had Sauce Gardner locking down one side of the field, right? And then you can always have safety help over the top and all that. I don't know that DJ Reed's a better player than Tyson Campbell, but he's getting paid more now than Tyson Campbell is. So I think, you know, again, this is obviously the last guy's gone. We moved him out finally, right? We uprooted him.
We had the brief discussion yesterday about what to do with Trayvon Walker, right? Someone had brought up the idea of trying to get an extension done now, potentially, with Trayvon Walker, and I said it yesterday on the show, and I'll repeat it again. I don't expect this to be the way that it plays out, but if you could figure out a way to offer Trayvon something like a 3-year extension at about $25 million a year right now, and he would be willing to take it, I would do that so quick because I don't think there's any world where they're not going to be talking to him about a second contract next offseason. That's when it's going to happen. They're going to have to figure out what exactly that's going to look like, and I think it would work okay for both sides of that, but I wouldn't blame Trayvon's side at all if he were in that, but you offered him that kind of thing. You said, no, I'm gonna play it out, because even if he signed that extension, he'd get the big signing bonus, whatever it would be, so they give him a check for 30, 35, whatever, right? When they got the deal, and he'd be playing this season under whatever the contract was going to be for this season.
Sure, but he'd get that guaranteed money. I mean, there are cost benefits on both sides, right?
That's the working it out with your corner last year. It made sense.
They can squat on Trayvon for a couple more years, right, without even having to use a franchise tag. And at that point, though, if you look at it, the average of the top 5 guys at the position is going to be like $35+ million, right?
If he's willing to do it now, I would do it now. I wouldn't blame Trayvon's side by being, no, we'll wait.
I wouldn't blame either side, right? Like, I get both sides of it there. He might say, like, 25 by the time I get there. But you're also taking on that injury
to get
risk.
Him to move, or 29 or 30 to get him to be like, yeah, I think it's worth it, now for me to do it. But it might be more in that kind of range to get it done.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a big priority for him this season. Again, because they can go through this year, let him play it out, have the 5th-year option, and they can see for themselves how he plays in Anthony Campanile's vision of a defense here in Jacksonville. Other moves going on. Indianapolis signing Daniel Jones for, I think, $14 million is what it came down to. To me, I read that as Daniel Jones thinking he has a better chance to beat out Anthony Richardson than he does J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. And it's not so much that J.J. McCarthy has shown anything. He hasn't. It's just that they've got that investment in him, and he hasn't disappointed them, right? Like, that is who they invested in to be the starter at some point probably last year. Then he got hurt. Darnold had kind of that Cinderella season. He has moved on, and so they wanted Daniel Jones back, but this is an indication. I think he got $14 million. That's not straight backup money necessarily. That's we're not sure you're going to beat out Anthony Richardson, but we're going to give you a chance.
Yeah, it's not Fields getting 20 right? Like,
right.
They're pretty much saying he's going to
20 with 30 guaranteed.
Yeah, he's going to be the starter for the Jets.
For this year.
Yeah, for temporarily. It's Daniel Jones is more in that Gardner Minshew camp, right? Like, we're going to give you an opportunity to start potentially here, and you choose whichever of the 2 or 3 teams that are talking to you, where are you most comfortable taking your shot at becoming a starter again. He's chosen his place.
Jags with Patrick McCarry signing yesterday. What was it? Roughly 3 years, $30 million?
Something in there.
Something in that neighborhood, right? Will Fries, who was a free agent guard from Indianapolis.
$337.5.
$337.5? Okay,
Yeah.
$337. So about 12 a year on average, 12.5 on average. Will Fries signed with the Minnesota Vikings for 5 years, $88 million. So, again, now, is Fries a better player? Yeah, I think he is. I think they like the versatility. I still think they want to build that line through the draft. And these are guys that they sign and say, look, if you sign Fries, you're committed to that. This may be a good guard market. Maybe they like the guard, draft pool. And we're going to get one. We don't have the pressure of him having to force himself into the starting lineup right away. But we're going to turn this thing over up front and build it through our vision. I think Fries would have been a good player. Obviously, if they had signed him, I would have been happy about it. But 5 years, $88 million. So for an extra 2 years of $21 million, or what would it be? I'm sorry, $51 million over the extra 2 years of what you're paying him. And again, I know the money gets funny and you can structure it different ways, but I mean, it seems pretty clear the Jags felt like they had a lot of roster improvement to do. It's kind of the foundations of things, so it wasn't crumbling beneath their feet. And I still don't rule out one name guy being signed, but I wouldn't anticipate it necessarily because I think we would have heard about some connection yesterday, barring like a if he's released type situation with Cooper Kupp. But you see some of the money that is going to these guys. I mean, that's the top end of the guard market now. It's over $20 million. They're getting close to $20 million a year for some of these guys. We saw Robert Hunt get over $20 million last year with Carolina. And, I think the Jags are trying to say we don't necessarily want to allocate all that money to interior offensive linemen if we don't have to.
And Kansas City's willing to use a franchise tag on one.
But at the same time, had to let Tooney go because of that, and Tooney still played at a high level last year. So, it depends on where you want to emphasize the areas of your roster. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a great offensive line. We all want a great offensive line. I just think they have they have 10 picks. It would surprise me greatly if at least 2 of them were not spent on the offensive line, even with those 3 signings yesterday.
Yeah, I think my big reaction to what happened yesterday was it was nice to see the front office and coaching staff express what they thought their plan was going to be going into this process and stick to it. Right? Like, I don't know if their plan or process is going to be a winning plan or process. I don't know. I know it worked really well for the Rams for all the years that Gladstone was out there. I think this kind of process and trying to build up your roster is not a bad plan for what it's going to be. And it kind of clarifies a little bit of what's happened the last couple of years for me with Balky, where they've continued to be a team that's spending money in free agency every year, right? Despite the fact that every year we get to the end of it, he'd say, we got to stop doing this. And then he'd do it again. And it's almost, you can almost read it in hindsight as he's desperately trying to hold on to something, right? Like some idea, some perception of who he is, like in the building, something was going on there because they said one thing and did another a lot with Balky. And at least with Gladstone, he said, look, this is the way that we want to approach free agency. That's how they've approached it.
I think there's a lot of pressure when you're in the National Football League as a GM or a head coach to win right now.
And I get it that Balky would be doing it trying to hold on to a job that he already feels is the hold is tenuous.
Right. The most important thing to Trent Baalke, put as many veterans on the field that can impact this team right now.
Gladstone doesn't have that much pressure like that.
No, you shouldn't have that when you come into a new situation that hasn't been working, and you've got to be given some runway to enact your vision here.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean, again, that I'm going to sit here and go 4-13 is good enough. It's a transition year. No, you can't come in and tell us the roster is better than 4 wins, that you're closer than people think, and then of your own account, you can't say, well, we decided to take a step back from that. It's time to compete now. Let's stop wasting years of Trevor Lawrence's career. Hopefully he stays healthy. I get their vision. They're trying to protect him. They signed 3 offensive linemen, which right off the rip, one of them is going to be bench depth at the minimum, Tony, with Chuma Edoga, likely maybe the swing tackle. But what does that mean for Cole Van Lanen on this team, who they tendered at a 6th-round level? So let's say he's back, okay? You've got Fortner, you've got Hodges on this team. Who knows what Hodges, I don't know where his health will be. Yeah. But add those guys to the starting 5, the presumptive starting 5 at the moment. That's 9 offensive line spots right now. So while you may say, well, Luke Fortner's still on this team, and I've heard a lot of this, what they're paying Luke Fortner is, a good percentage of what they saved on Evan Ingram. Why do they still have Luke Fortner? I'd rather have Evan Ingram. Well, just because Luke Fortner's on the roster right now,
doesn't mean he will be.
He's holding that spot.
Yeah.
He's your number 2 center, or maybe Macari would be if Hainsey gets hurt and Macari would slide over there, whatever. But go through the draft, and Gray Zabel is sitting there at 36, and you take him, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, Luke, it's been nice knowing you. We can still get that salary cap space back if we release you in April or if we do it today.
Yeah, and there's been no indication based on them trying to move Fortner around the offensive line. Give him something to do besides play center, please. And it just didn't look good when he was doing it.
No.
Last year in training camp, and they didn't even ask him to do it during preseason games last year. That's how bad it looked on the practice field for him doing that kind of thing. Unless he's found that kind of skill, I don't see right now. I think it's very unlikely Fortner winds up on their active roster.
I would agree with that at the moment. I think the big mystery man is Javon Foster. Like, this regime didn't draft him. Yeah. We never saw him. He was a 4th-round pick, for goodness sakes, coming out of a big program. And you just signed a guy who profiles to be a swing tackle for you, and you tendered another guy whose role would probably be as a swing tackle for you. Yeah. Like, you'd have a couple of good, versatile backup guys who could come in and play tackle, not to mention Macari has played tackle as well. Does Javon Foster have a spot on this team?
The offensive line in the NFL has changed so much. It does feel like because of the limited practice time, these guys just don't get the exposure that they used to get 25 and 30 years ago. Like in practice, it's just different, right? The process of playing offensive line and getting ready for it is different. But what it's turned into is you got a bunch of guys that are really high-level guards in the NFL that play tackle in college. That's the way it works because of the athleticism that you have to have in the league, which means that you're going to have a bunch of backup offensive linemen where you got to have guys that can play 4-5 positions on your offensive line to stay on the roster. That's just the reality of today's National Football League. So when you go into free agency and you add a couple of guys that they have the flexibility to play 4 or 5 spots, that's exactly what you're looking for guys that may not even be starters on your offensive line. They have to be able to do everything when anyone goes down that might be in front of them in the starting lineup. And like we've said, I don't think it affects what they do in the draft at all. It doesn't mean they are going with an offensive lineman at 5, but it certainly doesn't mean they're not going with an offensive lineman at 5 based on what they did yesterday.
All right, if you want to give us your reflection on what the Jaguars did yesterday, we're asking you about that today with our poll question out there. How do you assess the 9 players the Jags have come to terms with on the first day of free agency? Are you so excited? Do you feel like they've raised the floor? Is this just a pile of mid-type players, or are you very disappointed? Over 900 votes on this. I guess we stuck it out there yesterday. But you can go to @MD_1010XL on the X platform and cast your one-click vote if you haven't already. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, live at the Players Dylan Denmark at World Headquarters. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Don't forget, when you come out to the Players later on this week, Thursday, Friday, even on the weekend, you understand how that traffic can be, right? Here's the key. Here's the clutch move, okay? You get a little cooler, you put it in your car, you load it up with Dandy sandwiches for everybody who's carpooling out to the golf tournament with you, and then you've got some delicious, quality, fresh food on hand so you don't go crazy as you're sitting in a parking lot on A1A trying to get into the entrance of the Players. Dandy's got you covered to swing into any area gate station, no matter if you're looking for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack time, anything in between, protein packs, gourmet salads. veggie trays, fruit cups. They got a little something for everybody out there, no matter what you're looking for, no matter what you're looking to get in your belly. You know it's going to be made with the highest quality ingredients, phenomenal variety, and the prices are always right with Dandy. When you're hungry, Duval, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
He went head-to-head with Reggie White and Derek Thomas.
I like this kind of fighting.
But can he handle Joe Coward and Matt Hayes?
Let's go. Break you down. Come on. Woo!
Leon Searcy on XL Primetime.
That's what I'm talking about.
Afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
Gun charges, drug charges. I'm Attorney Malcolm Anthony, and I specialize in handling these types of felony cases. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability and versatility built in, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors to get the job done right, Z Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Visit Coastal Equipment for a demo today.
Greater power for the great outdoors. Coastal Equipment.
Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Who will win the Players? Hello Windows and Doors presents the 1010XL Players You Pick 'em contest. Go to 1010XL.com and pick who you think will win this year's tournament. You could win $1,000 in jewelry from Beard's Diamonds. Go to 1010XL.com today.
Take your taste buds to One Night Taco Stand for Taco Tuesday. Get $2.99 tacos and $6.99 specialty drinks. The 1010XL restaurant of the day is One Night Taco Stand, Mandarin, Orange Park, and Southside at Bay Meadows.
Joe C. for Florida Home AC, and now's the time to tune up that heating and AC unit. Take advantage of their $69 seasonal tune-up special. Keep warm in the winter and cool in the summer with Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars.
Hi, I'm Jeff Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true. And after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the Lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase now through March.
Hi, Flying Jacko here, and when you're inside the Kuhn Flowers showroom, you'll find a wide array of gift ideas that'll take care of any gift-giving situation. Spend a few minutes there and you'll see for yourself. Kuhn Flowers on Beach Boulevard.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, this is David with Royal Pest Services. The fact that we've been bundled up the past month gave us an idea. Let's bundle up also with our Centricon and Pest Control bundle, starting at $349. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for your free inspection.
Warm weather means the beach, fishing, golf, and more. Make sure to drop into Daly's and grab a cold case to go. From Bud Light to their seltzer, from Mick Ultra to Modelo, or your favorite crafts like Bold City or Sweetwater. Grab and go at your local Daly's.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, so officially the Jags agreed to terms with 9 guys. Although, correct me on the tampering rules again, Tony. Are we supposed to be talking money with these guys now? Like, remember that was the whole thing? Like, you could talk to them but not exchange numbers.
That's when the tampering, when it became the official tampering period, they said you can talk numbers.
Oh, well,
that was the thing. People were doing it. We're not allowed to talk about any of the numbers, and they said, nah, the tampering period, you can talk
Why
numbers.
wouldn't you talk numbers?
Because we know you are.
So the Jags agreed to terms with Dami Brown, Chuma Adoga, Robert Hainsey, Jordan Lewis, Hunter Long, Patrick McCarry, Nick Mullins, Johnny Munt, and Eric Murray. For some of these guys today will be the most we talk about them, probably. Sure. And in some cases, that's a wonderful thing. You know, with offensive linemen, out of sight, out of mind. If you're playing well,
that's the hope.
We're not going to talk about you as much. So sorry for you. That's what's happened so far with Jacksonville, but a lot of big-name movement around the National Football League, so let's get caught up.
Now, gems around the NFL. Brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Houston has traded 2 offensive linemen now, with guard Kenyon Green and a 5th, going for safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson and a 6th from Philadelphia. Houston is also trading left tackle Laramie Tunsil and a 4th-round pick to Washington for 3rd and 7th-round picks this year, 2nd and 4th-round picks next year. Houston has also agreed to terms with wide receiver Braxton Berrios, defensive end Derek Barnett, defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins on 1-year deals, and defensive back Tremont Smith on a 2-year deal. Indianapolis has agreed to a 4-year, $60 million deal with safety Cameron Bynum. The Colts and cornerback Charvarius Ward have agreed to a 3-year deal worth up to $60 million. They've also got wide receiver Ashton Doolin coming in on a 2-year, $8.5 million deal. Tennessee has agreed to terms on a 4-year, $82 million deal with $50 million guaranteed for left tackle Dan Moore. Now, getting outside the AFC South, Seattle is bringing in quarterback Sam Darnold on a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. The New York Jets and quarterback Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. Philadelphia is trading quarterback Kenny Pickett to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Former Jaguars tight end Luke Farrell is headed to San Francisco on a 3-year, $20.25 million deal. New England, one of the busiest teams yesterday, getting deals done with cornerback Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. Defensive tackle Milton Williams, 4 years, $104. Linebacker Robert Spillane on a 2-year deal. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses, 3 years, $24 million. Wide receiver Mac Hollins, 2 years, $8.4 million there to the Patriots. Tampa Bay re-signed wide receiver Chris Godwin right before free agency opened, 3 years, $66 million. Tampa has agreed to a 1-year, $14 million deal with linebacker Hassan Reddick. The New York Giants are bringing back wide receiver Darius Slayton, 3 years, $36 million. Buffalo and wide receiver Josh Palmer, 3 years, $36 million, 18 guaranteed there. Green Bay and guard Aaron Banks, 4 years, $77 million. Kansas City and offensive tackle Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. The Chiefs are also bringing in running back Elijah Mitchell. Minnesota and center Ryan Kelly, 2 years, $18 million. The Vikings also adding offensive lineman Will Fries, 5 years and $88 million there. The New York Jets are signing safety Andre Sisco to 1-year, $10 million deal. Carolina and safety Trevon Moehrig, 3 years, $51 million, could be worth up to $60 million with incentives. Denver and safety Talanoa Hufanga, 3 years, $45 million. Dallas and safety Marquise Bell for 3 years and $12 million. Las Vegas and safety Jeremy Chin for 2 years, $16 million. Minnesota and cornerback Byron Murphy, 3 years, $66 million. Detroit and corner DJ Reed, 3 years, $48 million. The New York Giants and cornerback Paulson Adebo, 3 years, $54 million. The Giants also agreed with defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harrison for 2 years and $10 million. New Orleans is bringing back Chase Young, 3 years and $51 million. Carolina with defensive end Patrick Jones, 2 years, $20. Chicago with defensive end Deo Adeyingo. What am I doing? 3 years, $48 million. And defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, 3 years, $43.5 million. The Bears also landed center Drew Dalman on a 3-year, $42 million deal with $28 million guaranteed. Washington with defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, 3 years, $45. Cincinnati re-signing defensive tackle B.J. Hill, 3 for $33, and agreeing to 2-year deals with defensive tackle T.J. Slayton and running back Samaje Perine. The L.A. Rams with defensive tackle Poona Ford, 3 years, $29.6 million. The Los Angeles Rams are expected to release wide receiver Cooper Kupp if a trade does not materialize by the start of the league year tomorrow. And San Francisco has informed fullback Kyle Juszczyk that he will be released by the team.
Yes, the fullback. Got to get a fullback in, Tony. Said the 1% of the 1%. Did you mention Bada Bingo in there? There were a few of them in there. Yeah. Let's see, on the YouTube virtual studio chat, why don't we take Gray Zabel at pick 36? Well, maybe we will. Here's one of the reasons why we might not. He might not last to pick 36, right? He's been, and that's the thing. We say, well, we can get this guy at this pick and this guy at that pick. The best laid plans, right? Other teams are calculating to do what's best for them as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely think Gray Zabel, North Dakota State, played tackle, expected to move inside in the National Football League, play guard or center, would be an excellent long-term pick for this team. If they feel like, he's good enough. They showed or he showed at the Senior Bowl he could play against a higher level of competition, but, didn't do it throughout most of his college career based on where he played at North Dakota State. So, yes, we could say, you could get this guy here, you could get that guy there. Well, other teams are thinking the same thing. Well, the Jags might get Gray Zabel at 36. We got to get him at 35 or earlier. So, yeah, I think he absolutely should be under consideration. A lot of offensive linemen should. Somebody on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, I think Anton Harrison will be given every opportunity to play left tackle, his natural position. None of these positions is in stone except for Hainsley at center. So I look, like, for instance, Ezra Cleveland played his first year in Minnesota as a right guard. Could they flip sides between him and Macari? Possibly so. But I would presume that Ezra Cleveland will be your left guard and Macari will be your right guard. Yeah. But maybe that won't be the case.
You can look at the snap counts. I mean, Macari played more left than he played right. So that may be where it winds up.
Well, here's the interesting thing. All right, Walker Little's deal, Tone, is really a 2-year deal at this point. When you look at what he has got out ahead of him right now,
yeah.
Okay, he's going to be on the team this year, whether it's left tackle or if they say Anton beats him out, okay? Now, let's see how this adjusts. Let's say we designate him a post-June 1st trade, okay? If, let's say, the Jags get to a point in the draft, maybe it's at 5, right? Maybe they take Will Campbell with an eye towards, we're just going to bring him in because he's got positional versatility. What if he gets into camp and he shows you, man, this guy can be your left tackle, right? Like right away, like, wow, we're not going to be able to keep him off the field. We don't think Walker Little projects well inside. We do have some depth now at tackle. Not starter caliber guys, but how many teams have a third starter caliber tackle? What if you then find a tackle-needy team in August? Oh, are there any tackle-needy teams in August? There's always tackle-needy teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the situation the Jags had going into last season. They had 3 starting caliber tackles on their football team, and they wound up trading Cam Robinson.
Right, not saying you'd get a ton for him. And, again, I'm not suggesting that this is absolutely in the cards. I'm just saying, if you were to cut Walker Little right now, you're not going to do that because it'd be a $24 million cap charge, right? Whereas, which is 13 more than he's going to cost you this year anyway. But if you trade him and you designated a post-June 1st trade, and if it happens in August, obviously that would be the designation.
It would be.
He'd count like $1.5 million against your cap. So what if they do get in and they go ahead and they draft a Will Campbell or a Calvin Banks or any of these guys, and they're like, damn, man, you know what? We can't deny he is our best option right here at one of the 2 tackle spots. Maybe it's an open competition between 3 guys. Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
They don't have – there's no sacred cows here except for Trevor, right? Which, by the way, who was Florio trying to trade into yesterday? Seattle? Do you see that? Like, come on, man. Do you not have enough clicks on the first day of free agency that you got to throw this nonsense out there, and then like 30 minutes later they're signing Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Like that was never happening. I mean, how clear do the Jags need to make it to you where they're at? I mean, I get it. Teams say things and then turn around and do something else. Rarely do they do that with their 25, 26-year-old franchise quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
We're going to build the whole thing around him. Oh, maybe they'll flip him to Seattle. That made a lot of sense. But in this case with Walker Little, when you really look at his deal, like even if you just had him on the team, okay, at going into his third year, if you let him go after the next 2 seasons, this year and the next year coming up, his dead money on the cap is almost nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So unless you flip him to somebody, he's affordable. He's a starting option for you. And right now, I'd pencil him as a starting left tackle. Sure. Is that written in stone? No, I don't think it is. And why should it be with a front office that is looking at everything with fresh eyes? We got to take a break here because we're running out of time rapidly. Helmets and Heels ladies are getting queued up to take over for us for the next couple of hours. So let's do that. Let's come back. Get where the poll stands for today for the Chad and Sandy Real Estate Question today. Give you some final thoughts on day one of free agency for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, live at Sawgrass on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey for Pella Windows and Doors. I talk about them all the time. I love Pella. I try to only represent companies that give me the absolute best, and Pella has made my house look so much better. It's more energy efficient. I replaced all my original windows in my home and my sliding glass door. Went with Pella. Consumer Reports tell you they're the top in all the major window categories. So why not go with the best? Upgrade your home right now with 0% financing for 60 months online at PellaJacks.com or stop by their showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Your radio highlight reel.
Caught for the touchdown.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
Tired of drafty, noisy vinyl windows? It's time to say goodbye to vinyl. And hello to lasting comfort with Renewal by Andersen Windows and Doors. Our exclusive Fibrex windows are 2 times stronger than vinyl, more energy efficient, and custom built to fit your home perfectly. No more warping, no more cracking, just beautiful, durable windows that stand the test of time. Right now, get special financing or save big with limited time discounts. Call Renewal by Andersen today and say bye-bye vinyl. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com. Don't wait. Upgrade today. License number CGC 1527613.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Ahead, we build platforms for digital business. We help create your platform for digital business by weaving together advances in cloud infrastructure, intelligent operations, and modern applications. Digital business is comprised of 5 pillars. We call them imperatives because they're a must-have, not a nice-to-have. We enterprise cloud, integrated security, scaled DevOps, intelligent operations, and relentless automation. Need help with digital transformation? Ahead. Learn, grow, achieve.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Andersen Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Fish know where to hide. Captain Kevin knows how to find them.
That's a big one.
Listen for the Wing Power Fishing Forecast Show, brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss and Royal Pest Services.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, duckduckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Hey, this is Darren with One Call Lawn and Pest Control. Since 2011, we've taken great pride in being Northeast Florida's premier lawn, termite, and pest control company. Our technicians receive thorough training year-round, focusing on exceptional customer service with meticulous attention to detail. One Call serves the greater Jacksonville area, including St. Augustine, Orange Park, and Fernandina. We're eager for the opportunity to earn your business and welcome you to the One Call family. Call or text us for a free quote. 413-8377.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about not looking at the rear-view mirror of unforgiveness. It's so easy to keep looking in the past when someone has hurt or offended us. What we don't realize is that if we keep looking at the rear-view mirror of anger, it will cause us to miss out on the good things that God has in store right in front of us. Friends, looking in the rear-view mirror of the past will never give you peace in the present.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball, plus all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters? You're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. Let's face it, your neighbor Steve still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
All right, we may not have done a Tuesday top 5 today. Really, it was going to be free agency related, and it was going to be like, which 5 do you think they'll sign, or who do you want to?
Before the 9-man blitz.
Right, it was just all done, and so we didn't feel the need to go down that road. But one of the staples we've been doing this all season is our Wednesday mock draft, and we'll still do that tomorrow, 7-round mock. We can knock it out in 5 minutes if we, have other kind of pertinent free agent news, but. Dylan asked, are we going to assume that they filled a spot in free agency? We don't have to assume anything.
Yeah.
They filled 9 spots on the roster, right? You can take that into account however you like, and as you're picking, say, we've got Jordan Lewis, I'm going to look in a different direction, or whatever. So we'll do our mocks for tomorrow. I know a lot of people like to set them on Monday and Tuesday, but I'm going to skip right by them on those days because we got a lot of text and stuff coming in. So tomorrow, screenshot it, send it to us. We'll try to highlight some of the more interesting ones out there. And, it's just funny. Like somebody said, hey, why don't we take Gray Zabel at 36? And one reason, he may not be there. And then somebody on the text line just said, well, Donovan Jackson's just as good. He plays guard and tackle. Well, so does Zabel, and maybe he is just as good. And I'm not saying you have to – the question gets brought up. Why don't we take Gray Zabel? He's a guy that seems the consensus is going to fall somewhere between about – pick 25 and pick 40, somewhere in there, right? Donovan Jackson, I see him mocked in the second round all the time. I'm not opposed to I don't have any sacred cow offensive linemen in the draft, right? If Will Campbell is a consensus guy, great. If they think moving back 10 spots and taking Kelvin Banks is the move, fine. Or whomever, Armand Membo or whomever, right? Like, you wanted a new vision. You didn't like the last guy's vision. Well, you've got it now. To a certain degree, you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think, until they prove you wrong. Now, you don't have to. You can have your opinion. We're all entitled to our opinion. I'm not super excited about what they did, but it makes some logical sense. So we asked people today, Tony, are you so excited about those 9 names? Do you feel like this was a raising the floor exercise? Was it a pile of mid, or are you so disappointed? How do you feel about the Jaguars' work on day one?
I think it's, they're building up the base. They've stated that is what their stated goal was going to be. Going into free agency was that kind of thing. I think yesterday is an example of them doing that kind of thing. I think there's the question for how confident are you that the moves they made yesterday actually does that? Right? I think that's a fair question. And, again, that's one that you can't really answer until we see these guys on the field and exactly what this is going to look like. But I can understand the fans that react to yesterday saying, why aren't they more involved with X? Like a specific player that I can understand why someone would react that way. I'm not reacting that way because I hear what the GM said. They did what they did yesterday. It was like those things match so perfectly. Right? He's doing exactly what he told you he was going to do. So I don't have room for disappointment about what they did yesterday until we get these guys on the field and find out whether or not it is the right direction.
I think if you look at that whole of 9 players, you could say I could see potentially 5 of them starting on opening day.
Absolutely.
At the same time, if you consider nickel, whether he's on the field or not, in the very first snap, I consider Jordan Lewis a starter for this team. And I think he's honestly the only one who's absolutely locked in. I think McCarry's contract indicates that he will be somewhere. He got a bigger contract than Ezra Cleveland has, right? I mean, Ezra Cleveland, you go back now and look at where the guard market's going. 3 years, $28.5 million. I mean, can we give the devil his due without crashing the economy of Jacksonville and say that Trent Baalke actually signed some guys to pretty good extensions?
Not everything he did was wrong.
No, and that one, 3 years, $28.5 million for a guy that you feel like, okay, he's a competent starting guard. He's not the top of the league, but you're not paying him anywhere near the top of the league. In fact, he's getting less than half of the top of the league at his position now. And I look at McCarry's contract, and I'm like, oh, that's not – I mean, it's decent money. He's got versatility. But let's say they did draft Landon Jackson. He came in and blew their doors off and took that spot. Am I upset that you're paying him, McCarry, $37.5 million or whatever it is over 3 years? No, because he's got the versatility, and we know injuries are going to happen on the offensive line. And as of this moment, what they give you, to me, as much as anything, is just simply the peace of mind, like you mentioned earlier, Tony, that I don't have to go. If I don't come out of this draft with a starting guard or center, or what am I going to do? Well, we know what you're going to do. You're going to turn to the veterans that you signed. Now, again, I think they'll draft offensive linemen, which then makes the roster decisions of guys like Javon Foster very interesting.
It does.
And how that plays out. Will Cole Van Lannon find another home, or will he sign that 6th-round tender and stay in Jacksonville for a year? And then who's your primary swing tackle after that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of versatility on these linemen, and look, I'm open to all of it. May the best 5 win at that. May the best 22 win on game day and go out there and perform for this football team. I'm still curious as to what their vision is in the secondary right now. I'm presuming that Jarian Jones is going to play on the outside. Otherwise, it just seems to me like you're creating a hole where there wasn't necessarily one.
Sure.
And
he matches so well with, if they're going to stress intangibles, Jarian seems like an intangible.
Yeah,
guy,
sure.
Right? Like the attitude, the way he plays, like all those things, he matches what the profile of what they want a Jaguar to look like is. So they got to have some kind of role, a real role for him in their minds.
If he can play outside on a full-time basis, he becomes even more of a bargain because he's going to be on the field more, right? And you know that Lewis can handle his role. That's what he's going to be brought in for. You got Tyson. But what is the vision at safety, right?
Sure.
And how does Murray fit in with Savage and Antonio Johnson and even Dewey Wingard, who I think is, general, and a good team would be bench depth anyway.
He's a good pro.
Is this a position they look at now and say, hey, we're good? Because we got Murray, who's over 30 years old, and just I think he's kind of an average player. So, and again, not the most robust safety crop, but you might find one you really like at the right time, and you can go ahead and do that, but you don't, you're not pigeonholed into having to find that guy that needs to play on opening day.
Absolutely.
So, we'll see if Mia O'Brien's got this all figured out. Are you turning up the right one there, Mia? I don't know. Say something.
I hope so.
All right, good. Why don't we welcome in Helmets and Heels?
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
All right. We've done all the damage we can do probably for our 2 hours today. So stick around as Helmets and Heels will chronicle what I'm anticipating is not nearly as robust a day on the Jaguar news front. Mia O'Brien, good morning. How are you?
I just hope that we're not going to come off as I know you guys certainly didn't in the bit of your show I listened to. I don't want to come off as belly aching because I think I think what's so fascinating right now is it sounds like there's two factions of the fan base. There are those Jaguar fans who are upset because they didn't see any splash signings. Then there's the other 50% that say, why are people complaining? This is what they told us that they were going to do in free agency.
Yeah, I don't see how you do backflips over this group, right?
No, it's exactly, they raise the floor. And this is what free agency is supposed to be. The idea of free agency is not to bring in blue chip players to your roster. You are supposed to do that through the draft process and then in rewarding your own. The goal of free agency is to supplant that bottom third, if not bottom half of the roster.
I don't know. Saquon Barkley would argue otherwise. I mean, there are plenty of examples of free agents that put teams over the top.
But there were none of those free agents available in this crop.
Well, who's to say? I mean, maybe not.
Not Saquon Barkley level.
Maybe not, but Saquon if anyone knew what Saquon Barkley was going to do, he never would have left New York.
Okay, so who's the Saquon Barkley of this class?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I think we knew.
You may say this free agency class, but I don't think the goal of free agency is just to improve the bottom.
No. But I think that in general it is because typically those blue chip players don't get to free agency.
Sure, but there are plenty of quality starters that are going to change teams for a variety of reasons. I mean, like I get the plan, what they're trying to enact, and I'm not like going, "Oh, this is terrible." At the same time, I get the fans are like, is Eric Murray good? Like, just because we signed him, we needed help at safety for twice the money, which they easily could have afforded. They could have gotten Javon Holland, who I think would have signed here with no state income tax over signing with the Giants. Now, maybe they don't feel like Javon Holland is a great fit.
So tell me this. Do you believe Javon Holland, do you believe he's a strong safety or a free safety?
I think he's a free.
Okay. All right. Because, I mean, I think there's some people who believe he is much more of a tackler inside the box.
Maybe so.
And so that's, again, I think a lot of it comes down to we don't know what this defensive scheme is going to look like. And to your point about free safety, yes, the Eric Murray signing is the only one that I kind of raised my eyebrows at. And I had some colleagues and some friends in Houston texting me being like, like this guy, he can't turn his head around, he can't tackle, blah, blah, blah. But my point in looking at that specific position and gaping hole in the Jaguars roster, and we asked this of all of the variety of national analysts who joined us last week, I don't know who the best pure free safety is in this upcoming draft class, and I don't know who the best pure safety was on the open market, because, again, I think there are differing viewpoints on what Javon Holland actually will be here in New York, here at his next stop outside of Miami.
That's just an example, right?
Right.
I'm not saying, I'm not.
No, but he probably, but he probably, to my earlier question, he probably is the biggest blue chip name that I would argue made it to free agency this cycle.
Oh, I think a lot of the corners are right there, if not above him. Like DJ Reed, like Javarius Ward.
All right, but older guys. Javon Holland is 26 years old.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley was 26 years old.
Ward's in his 20s.
Late 20s, though, right?
Okay.
I mean, he's on his third stop now.
I mean, we're not going to say, look, I'm not trying to argue the nitty-gritty here. I get fans that want names that are recognizable to them, right? But that doesn't mean you have to spend, $3 $20 million a year players. They just want guys that they've heard of that have done it. And, when you're signing offensive linemen, and granted, did they raise the floor? Well, they raised it from 0 to wherever they are. I don't know where. I mean, you don't have a right guard. So clearly the floor is raised when you sign a right guard. How high did you raise it, I think is a fair question. And nobody's going to know until they get out on the field. So,
agreed.
Anyway, what's coming up for you guys?
Mike Giardi going to join us at 12:20 to recap free agency, give us the New England perspective as well, since certainly Mike Vrabel made plenty of notable splashes in his first free agency at the helm of the New England Patriots, not to mention some of what he heard at the Combine, as well as some pre-draft conversation. And, of course, we have our Heels highlights because it is Tuesday, the Terminex Pest of the Day, and so much more here live at the Players' Championship.
All right, Helmets and Heels coming your way. That'll do it for us. Thanks to John Shipley for stopping by. D-Rock will join us tomorrow as the Jags will actually be able to sign some players as of 4 o'clock tomorrow. That does it for Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark. I'm Mike Dempsey. Appreciate you listening to Jaguars Today here on 1010XL